Most of the programs that you're going to install on a server are going to come from the repositories, but every once in a while you're going to have to compile something from source and install it from the source code itself. Now, in this nugget, we're actually going to go through the process because it can be a little bit daunting. It can be a little bit frustrating to make sure you have all the dependencies installed on your system so that you can go through, configure, make, and install a package from source. But it's kind of a fun process too. So what I did is I started with a program that is kind of near and dear to my heart. I'm a big Bitcoin and Litecoin, basically a cryptocurrency fan, right? I'm a real big Bitcoin person, and so I thought it would be fun if we compiled. It's actually a CPU based miner, which, if you're familiar with Bitcoin, it's not something you actually make money with anymore. But the program itself is here, and we can compile it. It's CPU miner. Okay, so in order to actually install it. Now, when you download source, a lot of times it's put in user src. So that's a folder. A lot of times, like all of our Linux kernel stuff is going to be stored in there. When you compile a program that you download, generally you do it in your home directory, okay? Because this is just a source code that you've downloaded. I downloaded this tar.gz file, and you first of all need to extract it. So tar minus zxvf. Notice I use zxvf because it happens to be a tar.gz. If it was a bz2 file, I would say tar minus jxvf, and I would expand it. But we're going to extract this. We've used tar and other nuggets before. So here we have, let's see, ls. We've created a folder now, and that folder is CPU miner -2.4.2. Okay, so we're going to go into that folder and see what's in here. ls. All right, so we have a bunch of files here. The first thing we want to do is actually run configure. So see this configure command. We need to say /configure. What this is going to do is it's going to test all of the things that are installed on our system to see if we have the dependencies needed. And you'll see we have, I'm scrolling up here, we have almost everything we need, right? It checks to make sure that we have a build environment, and we do make sure that we have, all of the different types of files that we need, until it gets down to the bottom. It says it's missing required libcurl. Okay, so libcurl, or where do we get libcurl? Well, this is where you start guessing and poking. Okay, so first of all, we're going to say apt cache search libcurl. Let's see if there's a package that we can download that will provide us with libcurl that we're going to need. We scroll through here, we look, I'm going to scroll to the top here. And this is where we type apt cache search. So we have libcurl 3. Okay, that could be it. Libcurl 3, GNU TLS, NSSO, GNU TLS dev. Oh my goodness, there's all of these options. Now, generally, when we're trying to install dependencies to use for compiling, we want to look for a package that ends in dev, because that's a development files, right? That's going to allow us, it's going to have all the files that are needed to allow us to compile it into source code. Right? Generally, something like libcurl 3, this just has like a pre-done binary. This is just a regular package. But the dev packages have like the source files and stuff that we're going to need to include into a package. Now here we have two or three likely candidates, right? We have libcurl 4, GNU TLS dev, libcurl 4 NSS dev, and libcurl 4 OpenSSL dev. Now, if we don't know which one it is, so we have the option of looking in the installation file. So here, let's type ls. What do we have in here? We have a readme, so less readme. Now, if there was just one option, we could just install it. But we don't. We actually have some other options. Let's see if this says anything unique. Da 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 da. No, this doesn't really tell us a whole lot. We could go to the website and look there. I'm actually just going to guess and see what happens. All right, so I'm going to go up here. The file that I'm going to try is OpenSSL. I know SSL, so I know that's going to be something that's probably good. And it's possible that multiple ones will work, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to say sudo apt-get install. I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to install that package and see if installing that package is going to give us what we need. Oh, sudo apt-get update. I needed to update it. I haven't updated in a while. All right, now I'll try to install that one. There we go. So we've installed that, and now since we have this libssl development thing installed, we need to try to run configure again, because configure will test to see if we have all the stuff we need. Checks we have everything. Oh, it looks like it got past the libcurl stuff. It says checking whether libcurl is usable. Yes. Oh, we picked a package that's going to work there. Okay. So it's generated all the files. There's no errors here. Now, generally, if there's no errors, it means that we're ready to compile. And to compile, all you type is make. And it's going to make the binary file based on all of the source code that's here. So boom, it looks like it's done. We can see ls. And let's see, did it work? Yes. Okay, we have minord. This is the program that it compiled. Now, if you look all the way up here, when we typed ls before, if we can scroll up this far, you'll notice there was no minord before, right? There's no program called minord in this folder. It only appeared after we compiled it. So there it is, minord, and now we can see if we can execute that. So minord. It worked. Okay, it worked. It said actually we have to supply a URL. We could do -- help for more information, but it worked, right? The compiled program is working. And then the one other step we can do, we could type sudo make install. And what that does is it actually takes the program and it puts it in, well, it's going to put it in user local bin in this case, and it's going to make it executable. It's going to install a man page. It makes all the permissions correct. It does all of the things that are required to make it run system wide. So we don't have to do like /minord. We can just type cd, go into any folder, and now type minord, and it's just going to run because it installs it into user local bin. Now, why user local bin? Well, because this is a compiled program. It wouldn't install it in user bin. User bin is reserved for programs that are compiled by your distribution and you install with a package manager. So if you compile something on your own and then run make install, it's going to put the binaries in user local bin, which is still executable like you can see here. But that's where it's going to store it, along with all of the other things. Make sure it's the correct permissions. So we've done it. We've actually compiled and installed an application. We even had to troubleshoot and try to figure out what package we needed in order to allow it to complete. Now, we actually had the compiler installed, but I will show you in Ubuntu, if you type sudo apt-get install build-essential. Now you may remember when we were compiling the kernel, this is a package that we had to install, and it's going to say it's mostly installed, but it's actually going to upgrade a couple packages for us. So I'll say yes, but that build essential is a meta package that will install all of the compiling tools that we'll need for compiling packages, whether we're doing it for the kernel or for an individual package that we just downloaded, like this, Bitcoin miner. Compiling and installing from source can be frustrating, but it really is a lot of fun to try to figure out all the package dependencies that you need. And sometimes you actually have to compile specific dependencies and install them so that you can then compile another program. Like if the dependencies that you need aren't actually in your repositories, you may have to compile and install dependencies before you can even compile the program that you want to download and compile in the first place. But it's kind of a fun game to figure out if you can find all of the dependencies, get it to compile and install correctly. It's kind of a neat thing when you've created that file from scratch. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.